Today's speaker is Dr. G. Kishore, who's the principal and regional director of Sai LNCP region. He's a native of Pandalam, Kerala. He did his post-graduation, MPhil, and PhD in physical education from LNUP Gwalior. He joined the Sports Authority of India in 1986. He served Government of Kerala as Additional Director and Director of Sports and Youth Affairs, Government of Kerala, and Secretary, Kerala Sports Council in different tenure on deputation from Sai. He also served as Director Personnel, Sai Head Office, NSCC, Calcutta, and NSCC Bangalore. Dr. G. Kishore assumes charge as Principal Sai LNCP Trivandrum from 2011. He is also recipient of quite a few recognition awards. He's traveled to many countries in the world on international assignments. He holds a number of important academic positions in the University of Kerala. He is a member of Syndicate Senate. In addition, he is a member of many standing committees of the University of Kerala. He is an evaluator of the PhD thesis too. He has been nominated to various important committees by the Government of India and Government of Kerala. Member of Selection Committee for Dhyan Chand Award, Chairman, Committee to review guidelines for selection criteria for SAI schemes, Convener of the Technical Committee and Member of Executive Board for the 35th National Games, Member of the Committee constituted for implementation, creation of Delhi Sports University, Member of Committee constituted by the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India, for formulation of vision document for the next 15 years, 7-year strategic plan and 3-year action document, up to 2030 in respect of Department of Sports. Member of the Indian delegation to observe the Rio Olympics 2016. Dr. G. Kishore organized many sports-related workshops at international and national levels. He has attended and presented papers in many important sports-related seminars in the country and abroad. May I now request our most honorable guest speaker, Dr. G. Kishore sir, to kindly take the session. So please.
Thank you, Dr. Usha, coordinator, Mr. Sujit, all distinguished panelists and participants. At the very outset, I wish everyone all good health and safety when we are facing this pandemic of COVID-19 coronavirus. Being physical education teachers, it becomes our role to be a role model and play an active role during this pandemic, so that we take all precaution and keep ourselves safe, our family and the society too safe. So, I'd like to give a brief about this endeavor which have been taken up by us on behalf of the Ministry of Sports and Youth Affairs. This comes under the community coaching vertical of Khelo India and implemented by Sports Authority of India at Lakshmi Bai National College of Physical Education. And being the first day and the first session, we thought it would be ideal to start with the roles and responsibility of physical education teachers. Roles and responsibilities is Bhumika और जिम्मेदारी, शारीरिक शिक्षकों का भूमिका और जिम्मेदारी. So this is foremost and important because the first thing one in the profession, irrespective of any profession, one need to understand is that what is the role he has to play and what is his responsibility. So we would like to go into the topic, into the subject assigned to me. And before that, I would like to give a brief introduction about our, the entire gamut of activities which relates to Sharirik Shiksha or physical education. When we approach a topic, we should not forget the history and approach. So it is, we should approach with the history, especially like a country like India. We have a rich and glorious tradition and culture. That is what which makes us distinct when the rest of the world. And the world has acknowledged it. About the culture. In our culture, when you trace back our history, we can see visibly, we can see that our physical culture, we had a sound and robust physical culture, which was interlinked with the tradition and culture of our country. The culture of Indian culture or the civilization, Indus Valley civilization, traces back to 5,000 years. If you look back to 5,000 years, we could see from the very old times, it was inextricably interlinked with our education system, the physical education or the physical culture. The various traces of history where they were all in your epics and Vedas, it has been pointed out that in the system of Gurukul system also, which was mentioned in many of the literature, ancient literature, it is said that the gurus who used to teach the students used to teach not only the academic aspects but also the physical part of it. Thus, the martial arts, the various traditional martial arts, maybe the ancient archery, the fencing, maybe the various types of martial arts prevalent in the various parts of the country, the indigenous games, the various dance forms, the various physical type of exercises, the yoga, the yogic exercises and yoga. These were all evidences that Indian system of education from the very old times had the ingredient of physical into it. And how did we get it lost? This is a matter of concern, and we should look into that. If we had such a sound tradition and history and physical culture, then why? What happened that we, at this point of time, has to again go back and to make and to have orientation courses like this and make the teachers, physical education teachers, make them understand about their roles and responsibilities, and also to sensitize. That means there was some which has gone wrong, or which was not in order. So,
Dr. Kishore, let me know when to change the slides. So.
Yeah. So though we had this the tradition and history sound, if you look the immediate past, maybe around 400, 300 years, that is, we can look back with what happened in our country, that is pre-independence and post-independence period. So if you trace back the pre-independence period, that was a dark time when our country has faced very external invasions. Various cultures invaded our country. Various types of it was from the Arabian, it was from the various European countries, it was from the Arabian countries, various types, the Portuguese, the Dutch, all those people invaded our country, and they started establishing their own business and their own industry. But this led our country had to struggle a lot to uphold our system, to uphold our culture. We have never let loose our culture, but we had to look into the priority of survival, where at somewhere or other our physical part has to compromise. So we could not do the due to the physical part, and it was rather looked down unfairly or looked not up to the priority, though we inherited a rich and profound physical culture. Then later, we had the country was led to independence with our great freedom fighters and the great values which brought us the country to the freedom. So it was a time of freedom fight struggle, where the country's total focus was into how to lead the country to freedom. There too, I think the focus was merely on the basics of education, the basics, and we couldn't, the physical part of it was not up to the level of expectation. Then let us look into the post-independence period, where we had come up now to the 2000s. We had 7 decades. So what has happened out of this time? Also, our priorities were different. we have to look into the priorities of ours, maybe to see that our economy is sound, the poverty is not there, the basic amenities to be given to the society, and here also the education system which we had, which was later, which was in between in the colonial rule, which we followed the British education system, and there too, though it was there that we must have the basic for every educational institution to establish, there were certain things which are mandatory for the academics. That they were, if a school need to be given recognition, it was mandatory that the school must have a prescribed area of playfields and a prescribed area for their various other recreational activities. But that too got diluted, and the system that got eroded, and that led to, we call it later a lottery into an academic focus system where the physical part of it had to have certain setbacks and was not up to their level. This has led to very drastic consequences where it has affected the health of the community, the health of the youth. The slide you are seeing can see shows the physical culture of our country. We can see that the various dance forms which was prevailing in various parts of the country. And maybe it is in Manipur different, maybe in the northeast, maybe different in Punjab, maybe in Kerala. And we have various music, arts, dance forms where the physical part was an ingredient. The traditional god races of Kerala, the Kanadipat from Kerala, the traditional martial art of Kerala, the various dance forms, the various other traditional indigenous games like Malkam, the yogic exercises. These were all the traces of history in India, which has established that we had the physical part of the education very robustly integrated to the curriculum and the syllabus from the very long time. Then, how did we lose the contact? We had, in the latest point of time, when we were passing on, we had to merely look into the basic amenities. We were not having the required facilities. So we had to compromise on somewhere, which has really affected the physical education part. And that's how it has affected and led that we need to have revived the system. And that is how we are now having such endeavors and programs to re-establish the system of the physical system, and also to make it an integral part with the education. So that is how I would like to sound you on the definitions of education. So when you approach physical education, we should not go straight without its education part. I think this would be quite known to everyone, and you would be aware about it. But I just wanted to refresh your knowledge and see that we to establish the fact that we are an integral part of education. So I would like to go into some of the definitions given by the icons of education. That is Mahatma Gandhi, father of nation. He just read the education. I will just read out the definition. He has said that education results in the all-round development and growing out of the best in child's body, mind, body, and spirit. This is quite non-definition to everyone. But I just want to reiterate the part. You see the definition where he has three important components. He has mentioned is the mind, the body, and the spirit. So any education system which will focus more on any of this part alone, maybe mind or the body or spirit, will not be balanced, will not be value-based. So it is required that any education system followed must have all these three ingredients inbuilt into the system. Even our Swami Vivekananda ji was more blunt and very to say that you will be nearer to heaven through football than through the study of data. So this work emphasizes how much of relevance is there in the physical part, the physical education, and how much of importance it is related, it should be given in the total education process. I have used a few definitions given by some of the olden times, some of the pioneers. Mr. Sujit, can you put into that the old ones, the definitions by some of the the ancient definitions where also it was written?
You can see, right? Can you see it?
No, this is I think the one before where we have few definitions about Aristotle and more. Is it there in the slide? No, the old one, previous slide, the previous one more. One, yeah. See these slides. If you see these slides about what is written in our manuscripts about education in Rig Veda, education is something which make a man self-reliant and selfless. That is the ultimate objective of education. It is, if you see that what is followed today. And in Upanishads, it is said that education is what whose end product is salvation. And education is the realization of self. And Kautilya said that education means training for the country and loving for the nation. The Plato said that education is the capacity to feel pleasure and pain at the right moment. Aristotle said that education is the creation of sound mind in a sound body. So these all time-proven wisdom has, and if you relate it what is happening today, that we could see that there need to be some realignment done or refocusing done in the system so that the physical education also gets the due and the part which is situated in education. Shall we move forward, Mr. Sujit, and go to the
We discuss.
so this yes, one more. Yeah. So this is another education definition given to education, and where John Dewey has pointed out that how the education leads to. It can be deliberate and hopeful, and it is a process of living, inviting truth and possibility. Education helps people to live their lives as well as they can. So it is a process of living, of inviting truth and possibility, of encouraging and giving time to discovery, and it is a process of living. So if it is a process of living, it is a process of living starts from womb to top. It starts from the prenatal stage. So it's a movement. The life is the entire process of life is not it is not static, it is movement, it is vibrant. So during the process of movement in life, which one has, that we have to be deliberate and hopeful. And and it has to help people to live their lives as well as they can. So in this process, when you want to have a living process, it is required to be undertaken with certain quality, and for which physical education, the physical part of it, is indispensable. Next slide, please. So I have defined, the last definition defines about the life path. So if you define the life path, you can see that the entire lifespan of an individual starts from womb to top. That is why it is written that education is a process which is from womb to top. And what happens to a child when he is conceived in the womb of the mother? The development of child in the womb is based on the movements the child performs, along with the nutrition and and whatever his other physiological requirements are. The movements which he makes during the womb makes him to grow in the womb. And if there is lack of movement in the womb, that is said to be a setback. And after the child is born, what the child does immediately is that the child cries. The crying of the child is an exercise. It's a natural process of exercise where he develops its cardiorespiratory system. And from there onwards, it is time where the child starts moving his arms, both the arms, the legs, and all these movements which he performs are the basic movements one starts when he begins his life. And there onwards, if you see the movement pattern, he comes to the crawling position, he gets up, he walks forward, counts forward, starts getting up, and the fundamental movement starts. He learns how to walk, he learns how to jump, he learns how to throw, he learns all these basic movements, and then it begins to refine. The movement starts refining, and each stage of life, each stage of growth, the child has to have a certain range of movements along which coincide with his growth pattern. And if you say academically, if you say in the academic sense, the entire academic gamut, where he starts from the infant's pre-play or maybe from the kindergarten until he reaches his graduation, post-graduation or PhD. The entire syllabus and curriculum which is worked out is progressively in accordance to the development which happens to his brain. So when it happens, when we have a progressive curriculum and syllabi, which is designed to develop your brain to its highest levels of excellence, what about the requirement? What about the physical part, which is an integral part, which is of this movement process? So where it becomes visible and evident that the child is required to undergo a certain movement, a certain step, certain movement pattern in accordance to his growth, and which is also required to be performed in accordance to his level, in accordance to his age, and in accordance to his gender. So that is how it becomes important for the physical education teacher that he undertakes the role of giving adequate load or exercise or play, or in order to ensure that his development is optimal and in accordance to his growth and his development. So we can see here, but it doesn't stop with that. We can see the higher levels of education he reaches, maybe graduation. If you say it in the physical sense, if he was achieving his, if he was developing in accordance to his level of fitness, level of growth, we can say the higher education here maybe leads to PhD. The child would have been, if it leads to perfection, he will be leading to international levels of excellence. That is the best. That is the higher levels of excellence. He leads to higher international levels. We can see that an Olympic medalist, he can achieve that because he reached the pinnacles of his performance. He reaches the pinnacles of the physical part, and hence that is how it is. It can be equated with the excellence in physical part of it. And if you take a normal individual, then after the development which reaches the physical development which reaches its pinnacles maybe between the age of 25 to 30, it may be a little different in certain other depending upon the physiological age and the training age. And then later in the middle age also, in community coaching, it is required that the individual need to have certain movements. Maybe it varies. It need to be only maintained. But in the later, after reaching its pinnacles, after reaching its peak also, it is required for the individuals to maintain the movements, to maintain the physical exercises in such a manner that his health and fitness is maintained. And then it reaches the middle age, and then it climbs again up to the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. The level, the requirement of exercises gradually reduces. But he has to keep active, to keep the quality of life. It is required for the individual, the person, to keep doing some exercise, to keep doing some workouts, so that his life will be healthy, his quality of life will be there, and he will be productive and will be self-reliant. And if you reach then the level to which he reaches, the 80s, 90s, it all depends upon how much of health and fitness which the individual is enjoying. And even till the last, when he reaches the 90s, and when the lifespan is almost to be over, even if he is bedridden, it is to keep himself alive, it is required to him to perform the certain movements at least, that he will be alive. And in case in a critical stage, we can see that in ICUs, the physios are there that comes and gives some exercises to the individual, so that his basic movements are done, so that he is kept alive. So that is how the entire, I just wanted to depict this visual, this slide, to make everyone understand that the lifespan is, the entire lifespan of an individual is movement, is interlinked with movement. It's movement education. And at each span of its movement, we need to keep those spans active with a prescribed level of health and fitness. And here the mind and health, the health of the mind and health of the body are interlinked, and so we need to integrate the both. So that gives value of education, and life skills are essential gets established. Next please. So now we come to the brass tacks. So physical education, शारीरिक शिक्षा का भूमिका, our जिम्मेदारी. So when we are dealing with the children, and you know that India is a country. What is made India distinct from the other countries is that our youth population. India is a country with 1.32 billion population, where we have 40% youth, and about 40% youth, around 300 million are school-going children. And these children, the Indian youth becomes the youth of the world, because we are the second largest population in the world, and we are, as far as the youth population too, we are going to be the largest youth population of the world. So if we are the largest youth population of the, when the rest of the world is getting aged, the population of the many of the European and other continents countries, the age population increases. In India, we have the privilege of having the largest youth population. So, and we are also poised to become one of the developed countries, and economically, and also in the various other fields. So if we want to do so, it is imperative that our youth, our children, are healthy and fit. Here comes the role of the physical education. The role of the physical education teacher is to build knowledge, skills, and attitude to lead active lives, irrespective of which life, which profession he wants to take, irrespective of which field he wants to excel. But he must build the knowledge and skills, and have the right attitude to live lives. And a balanced education that gives children must have these components of, which is being depicted in my slide, where he must have the cognitive skills. The cognitive skills looks into the development of neurodevelopment and the psychological part, where the more the neurons, it is said that involvement of physical activities even help in having more neurons to get, and that he become more mentally alert, and he become more developed by mind. So inter alia, the philosophy is that involving in physical activity will help, will enable the children to have better cognitive abilities, intellectual faculty, and it will help him to be emotionally nerve stable. We find that when there are various problems confronted by the children because of the load which he is undertaking. This is a transition time. The next generation are confronted by different problems, different types of challenges, and out of that, many of the times his emotional balance is affected. And physical activities and participating in sports is something will enable him to de-stress, to become more, to get himself more recreated, and to lead life happily. He will become more social. Playfield is the best leveler of all social inequalities. So the way he mixes up with his colleagues, his friends, and his peers, he will be able to become himself more social, and his skills, the emotional skills, will enable him to be more social, to interact with others, and withstand and the challenges which he is facing. And his active lifestyle will enable him to derive adequate physical fitness and physical skills, which will help him to continue his life journey actively, and will help him to pursue his professions, whichever areas of interest, with vigor and zeal. Next, please. ये जो भी मैंने कहा है, इसमें आपको शारीरिक शिक्षकों का दायित्व है। हमारा ये महत्वपूर्ण चीज है कि हमारा प्रोग्राम कैसे रहे। जो प्रोग्राम हम उसके स्टूडेंट को हमारा स्कूल में दिए जाते हैं या इंस्टीट्यूशन में दिए जाते हैं, उसमें किस तरफ से हम उसको इन्फ्लुएंस करें। हाउ कैन वी इन्फ्लुएंस द स्टूडेंट, हाउ कैन वी मोटिवेट एज अ टीचर और अ कोच टू मेक द स्टूडेंट्स टू टेक पार्ट इन एक्टिविटीज। किस तरफ से हम स्टूडेंट्स का इंटरेस्ट ला पाए, इसका दिस इज व्हाट वेयर यू हैव टू बिकम a little bit of you have to put the skills of a good manager. You have to put a little bit managerial skills here. You have to make a person of marketing skills. You have to do here. आपको ये करना चाहिए कि आपका जो प्रोडक्ट मतलब आपका जो क्लासेस है, आपको उसको अट्रैक्टिव होना चाहिए, और इसको जो भी है आपका खिलाड़ी और आपके स्टूडेंट को इसमें इंटरेस्ट आना चाहिए, मोटिवेट होना चाहिए। इसके लिए वी हैव टू हैव सम मार्केटिंग स्किल्स where we will try to make the student take on physical education with interest, intrinsically motivated. So these are some of the slogans which we have made, which we can get the interest, make the child, not only the child, the parents and the community to take up physical education program with desired seriousness and interest, and in a sustainable manner. So it should be like the encourages physical activity for life, that you have to carry on, helps to prevent sickness. You see, now it's the time of COVID-19, and there is a lot of diseases are spreading. So it is required that if you involve your child in healthy lifestyle with proper exercises, doing proper exercises, we will be able to develop immunity, and we will be able to get him the intellectual and emotional strength to face these challenges. And it provides an outlet for creativity and self-expression. You can become more creative. I have mentioned in the last slide that it helps in the cognitive development. So your mind become more sharp. your creativity develops, and you develop the social skills. You must start cooperating with others. Better teamwork develops. You, after all, the child gets more self-confident. He builds confidence, self-confidence. He becomes confident on himself, and it provides opportunity for personal goal setting. He will have different choices. He will have interest into different subjects. He will have various passions of his, but participating in physical activities in physical education will enable him for goal setting and increases the personal fitness and motor skills development. He will develop that fitness, which will make him successful all in walks of life. Not only he helps in reducing stress and anxiety. And stress and anxiety, us are aware, that is a major personal constraint, a major factor uh, which is confronted by our next generation. Lot of stress. You know the transition period. We are in a transition period, so it leads lot of stress. The academic stress, the stress of the various exams. So once the child goes to the playfield and learns, he plays. He he will derive the courage to face defeats. He will learn from defeats. He will know how to accept defeat. He will know how to accept success. And he will strengthen the relationship with others. He will become a better citizen. He will become, he will start getting more relations and more socialized, and thus he becomes a better citizen. Next, please. So I have already told that whatsoever habit a child forms during his formative years is something which will carry on throughout his life. The school forms of habit. Physical education teachers have to be more careful because we have got 300 million school children, going children, and 80 million outgoing school children. The one who can keep an eye on the habit of each child is the physical education. There will be other teachers. The other teachers also might be looking, but no one can observe a child as closely as physical education teacher. And he can understand the habit formation, what sort of habit he forms, and we can mold him to develop right habits, etiquettes, manners, values, virtues, and which will make him to shape a better person, a person with good character and personality. And especially this is more important when we deal with children during the formative years and when they are in their teenage. Next, please. So there is normally many of the time the physical education teacher. One another area of confrontation is that competitive sport and the general physical activity, where we should have a drawing line, where we should have a sport should have its boundary, and where the basic exercises should have its boundary. So we can say that if you say, you look into the Indian scenario, we have 1.5 million schools and 33 crore children. And when we reach, this is our total population, and we look into the playing population, we have not even 0.5% playing population. Whereas we have got 1.5 million schools and 3.3 crore children. So 33 crore million children, 300 million. So why the basic factor here is that which is ailing towards excellence in sports too is the lack of cooperation. We have to find out a way that it becomes the responsibility of the physical education teacher to make every child, every youth understand, to know themselves, to explore themselves and find out his talents. We have got various physical exercises, we have got different sports. When we deal with a child, when we deal with a student, while doing physical activity, the physical education teacher is the best judge to find out, to understand what are the, where the talent lies and where he can come up in which are the sports discipline which are ideal to him. So the grassroots development, which becomes the responsibility of the physical education teacher, we will have to have an assessment for talent, fitness, and sports skills of each children. And this need to be done at the block, district, state, and national level. When we both find out in the schools, we explore the children. We need to find out from them that we need to explore from them where he can excel, which is the game ideal to him. And then in the pyramid which we are showing, will if the base is strong, when we can bring the entire youth, entire children to the into the physical into the realm of physical education, then we can definitely make them develop into the district level, then to the state level, then to the national centers of excellence, which the SAI is operating or state governments operate, and we can make a pyramid where we will have more podium finish. We will have more Olympians, more medalists in the Olympics. So that is what I would like to explore here and point out one important, very crucial factor which is ailing our excellence in sports. Many criticisms are there which we are confronting. Why India is not excelling at the Olympic level? Why we are not getting gold medals when small countries which has petty population are doing? So the basic factor here is that the playing population is very less. We have a playing population of a very negligible, very low percentage, and hence, because of this the playing population, we have only a few. We are not able to come up. We are not able to take the right person with the right qualities for different sports into the respective discipline, and thus we are not able to get a first person ideal for each and every sports to take on the respective sports and excel in it. So it is the duty. This becomes another important responsibility of physical education teachers to ensure that if there is a school where 3,000 children are there, they can at least you look when you have a look on the children, when you observe the children, you can find out that the physical features. Someone is having very good height, someone is having good arm length, someone is having their anthropological features with long limbs, that long and so we can observe and find that this particular boy or this particular girl has got a talent, he has got the basic requirement, physical requirement to excel in a particular sport. So the physical education teacher can guide the child to take on that sport, to take on and pursue that sport, and thus we can reach higher levels of excellence. Next slide. So this more or less the same thing which I have explained in the last. So it makes it little more. This will make you more aware that the developmental stages from the grassroots, where you start from the get moving side lessons and the refinement of skills, then the sports specific playing and competing skills which are required to be undertaken by the sports coaches. Then it comes to the identification of potential and skills, determination and completion of performance, stronger performance and achieving breakthrough performance and recognition. So this all comes in the ladder. You have to climb the ladder up, and then you reach to the higher levels where you can represent the nation, you can represent the bring medals, you can bring success, and sustained success will bring you as to the pinnacles and of performance. So this is a slide which will make the duty of a physical education teacher, the responsibility of a physical education teacher, very clear from the grassroots and the different stages of development which comes in this pathway. Next, please. So now, having understood the roles and responsibility, who is a physical education teacher? Many of the times we have that, who is the physical education? Physical education teacher is normally visible in a school, not now, maybe sometime back, as a person who is a discipliner, who is used for all other activities of the schools for various functions, programs, and he is the one who can control the entire school. But is it what the physical education teachers role and responsibility is limited to? Of course, I'm not telling that we should not understand, should not undertake those. These are all additional things, extra assignments, extra, which makes this role more distinct. But at the same time, the physical education teacher is the one who educates through the medium of physical activities. So when you say the medium of physical activities, it is depending upon the age, the class, the age, the gender which the student is. And the teachers are the one who teach physical activities to the students at the various classes. And it is required that, to be undertaken in a progressive way and depending upon the different classes and depending upon the requirement, the requirement of skills, the requirement at the particular class or the particular standard is studied. Next, please. So this is what, we would like to make you know. I think it is something which everyone in the Indian community understand. There was the saving which we had. पहले हमारा एक कहावत है कि पढ़ोगे लिखोगे बनोगे नवाब, खेलोगे कूदोगे बनोगे खराब. बट इसको अभी बदल दिया है. अभी इसका नया स्लोगन है खेलोगे कूदोगे बनोगे लाजवाब. ये हमारा Prime Minister himself has, our Honorable Prime Minister has given this, that खेलोगे कूदोगे बनोगे लाजवाब. So this is the खेलोगे कूदोगे बनोगे खराब that is no more existing. That notion is gone. That notion of having the खेलोगे कूदोगे बनोगे खराब has given a wrong feeling to the community and society, which has stigmatized this field, unfairly stigmatized. So that is no more existing. Now the new philosophy is that every child should play. Only if we play, खेलोगे कूदोगे, then तभी बनेंगे लाजवाब. So this is the philosophy which we would like to make the physical education teachers to say, that it is inevitable in the sedentary lifestyle, in this French sedentary. It is imperative. It is that you must involve in physical activity, in sports, that will make you larjawab, that will make you to excel, that will make you to rise in your life and attain distinction and glory in various walks of life. Next, please. So once we say that we have to do so, we must also explain to you how to do it. How आपका रोल आपको कैसे निभाना है, आपका जिम्मेदारी भूमिका आपको कैसे निभाना है फिजिकल एजुकेशन टीचर्स. इसलिए इसमें आपको ये जरूरी है कि आपको पता होना चाहिए कि किस तरह से हम आपका जिम्मेदारी निभा पाए. तो आपको हमेशा एक टीचर की नाते नहीं सोचना, ताकि आपको ये भी सोचना चाहिए कि आप एक एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर हैं, आप एक मैनेजर हैं. तो ये शारीरिक शिक्षक को एक एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर और मैनेजर का रोल भी लेना चाहिए. The physical education teacher have to play the role of an administrator. He has to play the role of a manager. So let us go into that. How will you play the role of a manager? How will you play the role of an administrator? That each one of you might be doing, but we would like to make it explicitly clear that how you can play the role of a manager and how you can play the role of an administrator in your career as a physical education teacher. Next slide. So as an administrator or a manager, it is required for you to undertake a various activities. You need to do a lot of planning. Planning comes as the first stage where planning is where you dream. You think that what need to be done. You need to foresee. आगे सोचना चाहिए. हम क्या करना चाहिए? आपका स्कूल में क्या करना चाहिए? आपका क्लास में क्या करना चाहिए? क्या तरीके का प्रोसीजर बनाना चाहिए? What are the things which you can do? आपको you have to start planning. And planning is something inevitable for every manager and every administrator. A person who fails to plan is planning to fail. So every physical education teacher, after critically analyzing his resources, after finding out what is in his hand, finding out his strengths and weakness, opportunities, we must, at the time, we must know, we must learn what should be done ahead. आगे क्या करना चाहिए, किस तरफ से करना है, हर शिक्षक को एक प्लान बनाना चाहिए. जो प्लान आप बनाते हैं वो तो साइंटिफिक होना चाहिए. When you make a plan, it should be practical. It should be implementable. It should be based on certain logics. Then you must have the logistics to undertake. So that is how the first part where you start planning on the things. Next slide. So you must look into the various, when you look into various your roles, you must see that you must have whether adequate equipment that allows children to do. The first thing which you require for any activity is that an access to the playfield. When you want to do something, whether you have access to playfield, whether you have access to infrastructure, whether you have access to equipment, whether you have teaching material, whether you have courts, grounds, arena. So it is required. आप जब प्लान बनाते हैं ये सारे चीजें हमको ध्यान में होना चाहिए कि आपका पास ये सारे चीज है. अगर नहीं होगा, कई बार ऐसे है कि आपको इसे जो पिक्चर में देखते इस तरह का प्लेफील्ड नहीं होगा, लेकिन आपको इसमें से डिटेक्टेड नहीं होना चाहिए. You must not get loose to it. You must find out improvised ways. You can, if there is no playfield in a school, you can use a classroom situation. You can make a classroom, vacant classrooms, and do some aerobics. Some sort of free play exercise can be done. If there is an assembly place, we can get the children assembled there to do some basic exercise. So instead of say, you have to think it over, you have to plan, you have to foresee, and see that some sort of activities, some sort of programs, you must be able to deliver. You must be able to undertake. Next, please. So it's also required for you that to take various maintenance records. As manager, when you perform the role of manager, you have to do a lot of official work also. आपको काफी लिखा पढ़ी भी करना चाहिए पड़ेगा. इसमें रिकॉर्ड्स मेंटेन करना पड़ेगा. इक्विपमेंट्स का स्टॉक रजिस्टर्स मेंटेन करना पड़ेगा. और हर स्पोर्ट्समैन का अचीवमेंट्स और इनका जो एंट्री है, आजकल तो सारे डिजिटल है, उसको डिजिटल में एंटर करना पड़ेगा. स्कोर सेंटर करना पड़ेगा. और मिनट्स ऑफ द मीटिंग्स कमिटीज के स्पोर्ट्स का तो उसका पूरा मिनट्स और प्रोसीडिंग्स रिकॉर्ड करना पड़ेगा. और अगर आपका कोई डिसेबल है, चैलेंज है, अभी जो category of children who are in the Paralympics and Special Olympics, if you have to have some sort of accessibility like ramps and other things designed for them. So we must take into account the requirement of all sections of society, all categories of students, so that they would be able to discharge, that they will be able to take part in exercise, and for that you have to do the role of a manager and do critical planning, taking into account all the resources what you have. And in the absence of the resources, you may have to make alternate plans and see that your students are not deprived access to the game, access to the and access to various forms of. Next slide. So
I've
this is
changed
what,
it.
so these are also make it very clear that the school sports policy, हर एक स्कूल को कुछ पॉलिसी होगा. आपको ये देखना चाहिए कि स्कूल का एम क्या है. कई स्कूल को ऐसे होता है कि टीम डेवलप करना है या अलग तरीके का डिमॉन्स्ट्रेशंस करना है, ग्रेस मार्क में ध्यान देते हैं. So you will have to see into the school sports policy and the aims and make holistic development of the students via sporting values. And the teacher has the responsibility of securing grace marks जहाँ भी grace mark होते हैं. तो आप उसको मोटिवेट करना चाहिए कि आप उसको बताना चाहिए कि इस पार्टिसिपेशन में स्टेट लेवल में होने से आपको ये आपका इससे फायदा है और आपको इसमें सिक्योर मैथ्स में ग्रेस मार्क मिल सकता है. एंड रिकमेंडेशंस फॉर द स्पोर्ट्स रिलेटेड अवार्ड्स. आजकल इतने सारे स्कॉलरशिप है, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट स्कॉलरशिप देते हैं, स्पोर्ट्स अथॉरिटी ऑफ इंडिया देते हैं. तो आपको ये भी बता सकता है कि किस तरफ से वो स्कॉलरशिप का ले सकता है. And recommend the students for council positions, because a good a participant in the sport is ideally a good leader. So we can understand them and recommend them for various positions in the school. Next, please. So the next part comes to the organizing. The planning and organizing is interrelated. If your plans need to be executed, you need to have organization, the capacity to organize. A good physical education teacher is a good organizer too. You have to have organize various programs, various tournaments, various other activities, seminars, symposiums. So you must know the skills of a good organizer. So inter-house, intramural, inter-school meets, tournaments, academic year preparations, organizing sports day, annual events which require coordination from athletes of the school, and fundraising events. So you can undertake, you can organize various activities, various programs, and make the school's physical department, physical education department vibrant and active. आप कई तरफ का एक्टिविटीज आप ले सकते हैं, कई तरफ का प्रोग्राम आप ले सकते हैं. पहले ये तो करना चाहिए कि ऑर्गेनाइज में बच्चों को ये बताना जरूरी है कि इससे क्या फायदा है, कि आप स्पोर्ट्स में लागू या फिजिकल एक्टिविटीज में लागू होने से उनको क्या फायदा मिलता है और किस तरफ से करें. आप ऑर्गेनाइज करेंगे, कई तरफ का प्रोग्राम ऑर्गेनाइज करेंगे, इंटर हाउस कॉम्पिटिशन करेंगे, सेमिनार्स करेंगे, सिंपोजियम्स करेंगे, क्विज करेंगे और कुछ डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन देंगे, वीडियोस दिखाएंगे. तो इस तरफ को दिखाने से उनको पता चल जाए कि शारीरिक शिक्षा से क्या फायदा मिलता है, उनसे क्या उनका फिजियोलॉजी में उनका क्या क्या उनको फायदा मिलता है, हाउ हिज बॉडी गेट्स डेवलप, हाउ हिज इंटरनल ऑर्गन्स गेट डेवलप. All this you can make them to understand. That also comes in, as a part of your various organizing various parts. We can't deliver it unless we organize something. So it is imperative that it is important that you must organize various programs, various competitions, and in your expertise. So you have to be a role model of fitness. आपको खुद एक role model होना है. You must maintain physical fitness to inspire the students. And if you don't have the physical fitness yourself, and if you are not keeping yourself fit, it will become difficult for you to undertake the task of making others fit. So analyze the entire physical educational activities along with the students and be yourself a role model by maintaining at least basic levels of fitness and undertaking various activities like mass drills, calisthenics, rhythmics, and there are many other, aerobics, Zumba dance, many new forms of exercises are there. Many interesting variety of exercises, variety of activities are there. But it is important that when the child looks into you, he is very inquisitive. And he learns a lot by observing and watching the child. He watches you. So be very alert. Please be very alert that the basic fitness, the basic health and fitness is maintained by you. Next, please. the rules and regulations of different sports. Whenever he participates in the games and sports, the basic technical rules and regulations, it has to be also taught to the child. Because the child should learn following the rules, the technical rules, so that he becomes master. When he want to excel also, he will be totally abreast, he will be aware about the rules and regulations. Next please. So it is the next role which you have to play is that of an academician. The teacher should, the student or the should not think that you are merely a physical education teacher doesn't mean that you are only confined to the play or to the physical line. But you must also make the schools or the society to understand you are equally an academician too, because there is a curriculum. There are different in worldwide. If you see all the countries, they follow different curriculum and syllabi. But in the absence now, the CBSE and ICSE also start. So you must be that with the syllabus and curriculum and the theoretical part of it. You must be updated on the sports science part of it, the research which are going on, and the sports science itself has now developed into each field has developed tremendously. And this would be of interest to the children, because they can relate it, correlate it with the various subjects he is studying. If he is studying biology, a little bit of physiology and anatomy would be of interest to him. If he is studying science and physics, biomechanics, the human movements can be interpreted for the various the principles of physics. If when he study chemistry, a little bit of biochemistry can also be integrated too. The basics of training methodology can be there. So we can, अगर आप sports का साइंस में आप पढ़ेंगे तो इसमें आपको इतना जानकारी मिलेगी कि स्पोर्ट्स साइंस का जो भी सब्जेक्ट है उसमें एक एकेडमिशियन के नाते आप उनको क्लास लेके हमारा स्टूडेंट्स को उसमें इंटरेस्ट ला सकता है. The students will develop interest, and you can make the students and the school to make them to show that we have got enough of literature. Each sports science subjects, each sports have got tremendous literature. There is a lot of research happening in each and every field. So once you are abreast, once you are updated in the various sports science subjects, once you are updated in the various research which are happening in the field, you would definitely be able to, you will be able to do justice and will be able to make the image of an academician. The people, the school authorities will understand that a physical education teacher is as equal as any other subject teacher, and you have got enough of subject knowledge need to be there to be delivered to be a successful physical education. Next, please. Can we go to the next slide?
Yeah, it is there.
So, the next
Health
part
edu-
is the health educator. See, many of the times we ignore the child's health in the school. And there is no one to teach them. They come in the morning and leaves in the afternoon or evening. Nobody to look into what they eat. Whether they are taking enough water. Whether they are taking safe water. What is the diet which he is taking? There will be parents will be taking care, but it is also the responsibility of the physical education teacher to educate the child on healthy eating habits. What is nutrition? What should be a balanced diet? What is the disadvantage if you don't properly follow nutritional guidelines? What are the disadvantages of obesity? What are the lifestyle diseases? This is very important. Now, WHO has predicted that 30% of the countries, we will have lifestyle diseases, and the pandemic now it's another threat for the health. So when we have a lot of lifestyle diseases and various other communicable diseases, how to develop immunity, how to develop healthy habits, how to prevent from postural deformities, what are the setbacks, what are the harm of using drugs, and how to prevent from injury, and how to give first aid. So all these knowledge are very important, especially the student must know that he is participating in physical activity, not merely as play, just not merely as, it is something which will have tremendous impact into his health. And it will, the one that, once he start doing exercise, once he start doing workouts, he will definitely understand he will get better, aware about the requirement of nutrition, and he will definitely have better food, and he will like appetite, and his health will improve. So we must also educate the child on a healthy living, play the role of a health educator, and giving all inputs required to lead a healthy life. Next, please. So the next role is that of a social and community service provider. So we have to have a lot of events in the community, recreational events. It is not merely for the students alone, but for the entire school community or the college community. When we can involve them together at a common place and participate in some activities, some physical workouts together, or play some game, that will lead to a cohesion of the society, that will lead to a lot of interpersonal relationships, that will strengthen the bond within and create a healthy environment inside the institution. And that will help to the teachers, the subject teachers, the management of the school to understand the value, of participating in physical activity. Some of the examples can be like marathons, with the runs, the walks which we organize for various, along with coinciding with various activities. So we must play the role of a community service provider in various events. Whenever there is a common public course, it is mostly they ask to go for mass run, mass walk, or some activities. This is on account of the fact that this type of activities can be the best venue where the themes can be solved. National integration, communal harmony, health and fitness. So all these will be better. We will be able to sell better when we take the role of a community service provider. Next. So when we should also understand about our other important responsibilities. That is to be a good leader. A good teacher is a good leader and a good motivator. And he should be able to maintain discipline. Discipline doesn't mean the conventional discipline where we do with building a stick, but it should be rather self-discipline. The child should understand and respect the physical education teacher. And once he understands and respect you, you will be able to control him, and you will be able to lead him. To lead the child, you should take the role of a leader. For that, you should have leadership qualities. What makes a leader? And you have to stand tall. You must have the qualities of a leader where you can inspire and motivate the children. You should be able to control them. You should be able to give them the tips of moral values and sportsmanship. Should be able to analyze their behavior and performance and guide them. So for that, you have to elevate. You have to take the role of a leader, a role of a good supervisor, and that will help you in discharging the responsibilities to inculcate the value of sports among the students. Please. So this comes of the evaluation. Every good program is never fulfilled without being evaluated. You must have the evaluation, and for that you must have the time management skills. Maybe the evaluation would be daily, where you evaluate what is the outcome of the learning which has happened in the day, about the delivery which has been done. You should use the rubrics of qualitative and quantitative improvements that have happened. It may be a weekly evaluation, the survey of the weekly programs which you have done, the monthly program, the quarterly programs, the annual programs, like we have, whatever delivery you have doing, please put it into some metrics or rubrics and start evaluating into the quality and the quantity improvements which has happened, and put some metrics to that, and so that we can see that there is some change, there is some difference, there is some qualitative improvement in the area where you are delivering. So this is very important for the children, staff, parents, and community, so that we can make them to understand that our programs had definite outcomes, and this is something which need to be fostered and continued. Next, please. So this is also, I would like to make a special mention about this particular period which we are passing through. Always, many of you might be doing it, but I would like to emphasize on this, that when you pass through this, the critical time which we are passing, COVID-19 outbreak, many people will be having many apprehensions, fears, tensions, and one is that to make them fearless, they should be cautious, of course. They should take all precautions, but at the same time, they should not panic. And exercise is the best way. Whether you can, one is that you can keep them healthy, they can develop better immunity, and they will be able to do better even when we are within the doors. So that in that case, we can have them to teach them how to be active at home during the COVID outbreak. Our Honorable Minister, Sri Kiran Rijiju ji, has a skip rope challenge he has undertaken, and it has become very popular in the country. Very simple exercise, just to do skipping, and some fundamental basic movement. You can have some. You can take the children. Most of them might be having their own laptops or Android phones. So we can do some sessions on online exercise sessions to the children. It can be dance or music, play video games, skip rope, or some sort of other Zumba or some sort of activities where you can keep the children and the other staff to be active and stay fit at home. This is something which is required, and you can be able to undertake during this period, and which will make you in the physical education role little more visible to the children. It should be at least the 30 minutes daily. Maybe in the case the child, or maybe 1 hour a day, the child may be thinking at least half hour a day. So once they start doing it, the child gets motivated. And WHO recommends that all healthy adults do 30 minutes day physical exercise and activity, and 1 hour for the children. So this 1 hour for the children should be a must, that they should feel that they should exercise for 1 hour. Every adult should feel, every healthy adult should feel that they should 30 minutes you should do every day. This is something which we should be play the role of a mentor, or play the role of a manager or a marketing man, where we should say that if you don't do 1 hour workout daily for the children, and if you don't do half an hour workout for an adult, this is something which is going to affect you. That we should be able to very strongly propagate this, so that every Indian child exercises 1 hour a day, and every adult does 30 minutes every day. It becomes a formidable, it becomes an important responsibility of every. And some other tips, which we can do, simple tips, that walk up and down. If they are staying in a multi-story building, maybe 1 or 2 times we walk up and down the stairs, that would be enough. Do some stretching after climbing the stairs. Some basic stretching exercise you can do. The children can put some music and do some dancing for half an hour. And seek more ideas. So there are many online programs which are happening now, and many good programs. So seek good ideas and keep yourself active, stay yourself fit, and let us emerge successful and from this, out of this pandemic. Next, please. So, how do we control? What is the role of physical education teacher? The physical education teacher, you might have been taught during your professional career, that you have a multifaceted personality. You have to undertake a very, very challenging role of integrating fitness as a way of life in school. You should be able to convince each and every children in the school You should be able to convince every subject teacher in the school. You should be able to convince the management of the school. You should be able to convince the parents of the children that it is inevitable for every child to participate in exercise and physical activities and participate in sports, which is something required not only to excel in sports, but it is something to it is inevitable for them to lead a healthy and happy life. It is immaterial which profession he wants to take on. Let him join any profession of his choice. But unless he is healthy and fit, unless he has the basic health and fitness, that will be detrimental, and that will affect the quality of his life. We can spot of people from different walks of life. Mahatma Gandhi, our father of nation, who has given us the education, where it is an indication of where it has mentioned that it is the education is the net result of the physical, mental, and the spiritual part. He has himself proved that to be a role model. He has walked the length and breadth of the country. He was never known as a sportsman or a coach or anything, but he had the fitness to take the non-violence as a struggle. Indian freedom struggle through non-violence and lead the country to freedom. And his physical fitness and health has given definite contribution to him for him to be to do so. Our Honorable Prime Minister, he has himself given to the nation the example of himself doing exercise every day, yogic exercise, despite his busy schedule, and becoming himself a role model. And every businessman, maybe you can see that the largest business houses, the who heads, every one of them have got their fitness trained, fitness trained. The US presidents, immaterial, whomsoever it may be, they had their own passion and game. Maybe Abraham Lincoln used to cut wooden blocks as exercise. Barack Obama used to play basketball, or maybe this current president play golf. So everyone, every person, irrespective of every field, it is physical fitness, physical exercise is something it is required for everyone. That is why Aristotle has said that no one should come to me without working at least 1 hour a day. So let the physical education of today let us be able to take on this crusade and take on this to the society and make the society understand that the physical activities and physical exercise and sports, शारीरिक शिक्षा, ये हमें हर एक का जिम्मेदारी बनता है, and हर एक इस पर लागू होना चाहिए. This is what I would like to conclude. I thank everyone, all the participants for their hearing, question hearing, and I thank the panelists.
Dr. Kishore, there are some questions. Dr. Kishore, there are few questions by different people. So we have about 7 minutes for a hard stop.
So can I ask some, or can I? There are 2 questions we just limit to.
Yeah, sure. You can ask.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kishore sir, for this valuable presentation. एक प्रश्न पूछा है अविनाश राठौर, हम कैसे विद्यार्थियों को रुचिकर बना सकते हैं शारीरिक शिक्षा के लिए? How can you make physical education interesting for the students? So this is one question, sir. Kishore sir.
क्या नाम बताया आपने?
Sir, अविनाश राठौर.
अविनाश राठौर जी, आपको रुचिकर इस तरफ से बना सकता है, आप पहले अपने स्कूल का या अपना विद्यार्थियों उसको देख लीजिए. You look into the children whom you are at the school which you are studying. आप उनको ऊपर देख लीजिए, उनका क्या इंटरेस्ट है, what are the areas of their interest. You find out there might be, definitely there is no child who is not interested in sports or physical activity. Your success is how you can make it appealing. आप किस तरफ से आपका जो कार्यक्रम है फिजिकल एजुकेशन का कार्यक्रम उसका अपीलिंग बना सकते हैं, उसको मोटिवेट कर सकते हैं, ये आपका जिम्मेदारी. वो इस तरफ से आप कर सकता है, आप उनका इसका जो भी इनका भाग लेने से उनको जो भी फायदा है, और जिसको फायदा मतलब जो है मेडल्स वगैरह नहीं, उसका शरीर में क्या परिवर्तन होता है, उसका शरीर में क्या क्या उसको अच्छा बेनिफिट मिलता है, उसका हेल्थ कैसे बढ़ाते हैं, हेल्थ कैसे उसको बेनिफिट होते हैं, उसको किस तरफ से अपने जिंदगी में सक्सेसफुल होने के लिए किस तरफ से मदद करते हैं, ये सारे चीजें आपको उनको मोटिवेट करना चाहिए, उसको आपको बात करना चाहिए, ये सबको अलग बात करना चाहिए, सबको एक साथ करके बात करना चाहिए. And your success is how you can give them the message, how you can motivate them. It depends upon how efficiently you will be able to make your area, make your field interesting to them, and whether they can. That for that you have to apply the skills of motivation.
सर थैंक यू सर. सर एक और प्रश्न है, इसमें नाम हम नोट नहीं कर पाए. कैसे हम पेरेंट्स का माइंडसेट बदल सकते हैं फिजिकल एजुकेशन और स्पोर्ट्स की ओर? How can you change the mindset of the parents towards physical education and sports?
This is a very important question. I think this is very quite relevant and in the Indian context. This is where I told, we have to change all the dream of padoge, lipoge, benege, nawa, feloge, kudoge, benege kara. That I have in that slide. I have just taken off that benege kara. We must make the parent to understand that physical activity is something which makes their child brilliant, and it adds neurons. It makes the child versatile and genius. His quality of life improves. And you should also threaten them. You should also give some negative motivators. That it is not negative motivated, it is fine. That there is a definite threat from WHO that 30% of the Indian population is going to be affected with lifestyle diseases. Whether the parent would like their child to become a patient who will have at a very early stages of their life cardiac disorders, diabetics, other lifestyle diseases like cancer and others which is spreading fast. Whether they would like their children to lead healthy life. These are facts. So if they want their child to be live, healthy, and successful in life, there is no option than to come and take part in sports. So that will make the parents. That will make the parents, if they are not positively motivated, I think here you have to employ some negative motivation devices. That's what my advice to the.
Thank you, sir. So this एक और प्रश्न हिमांशु निम्बालकर, क्या कोविड-19 का प्रभाव फिजिकल एजुकेशन लॉकडाउन के बाद फिजिकल एजुकेशन पे पड़ सकता है? Is COVID-19 affected? Does it affect the physical education sector after the lockdown?
See, this pandemic has affected every sector. There is no exception to it. Our sector, sector too. But you can definitely overcome it. You can face this challenge. That is what we are doing it today. The last slide, what I have given, is to give them insight on how they can use their residence, their places of work. They can use it for creative exercises, creative sessions to do some sort of activity where we can overcome this crisis. You may be having only home, 2 or 3 rooms in the house. You may be having a small courtyard. You may be living in a flat. You can use the space. In one room, you can just spread a mat and do the basic exercises, some of the exercises. You can do some on-the-spot jogging. You can do some on-the-spot skipping. So some sort of exercise. Or if there is some music, they can put on some music and do some dancing. So keep doing make the child that we should not say that, oh, it is corona, we should not do anything, we should be silent. No. We should use whatever we have, following the rules and regulations within the existing wherever we are living, the houses and the courtyards. We can definitely undertake some exercise and we can motivate them so that we can overcome this challenge, we can have this problem, and we can make our children healthy and fit.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Mr. Sujit, could you just wind up the session since we are about to finish the session? Sujit, please.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I think it was a very informative session. I think you talked about all the aspects of education, including physical education, and so that was very good to know. And also you talked about the importance of physical education and the role that a PE teacher actually plays in a school environment in motivating children, parents, the community, the staff, and just about everyone to stay fit and also to take up physical activity as a way of life. So what you have actually mentioned is of lot of value for all the PE teachers and community coaches, which will be a later session. And so the importance of both physical activity, which is the outcome of physical education that you talked about. You also talked about how participation in sports for everyone is going to lead to better podium results also. That is also talked about. You also talked about the structure. And thank you so much, sir. Thank you for this refreshing session.
Thank you, Sujit. सारी पार्टिसिपेंट्स को मैं शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहती हूँ और आप लोगों का सहयोग से हमें अच्छा कर सकते हैं. हम इस कार्यक्रम के द्वारा पूरे राज्य में एक बदलाव ला सकते हैं. और कल का सेशन रहेगा, जरूर एक्टिविटी भी ड्रेस में रहेगा. हम कम से कम 5 मिनट वो कुछ एक्टिविटी देंगे. And Sujit, I think we could wind up the session. And
Yes,
Kishore sir, thank you so much. It was very informative. We're getting a lot of responses from this, saying that the session was really good. Everybody liked it.
Well, thank you very much, man. Thank you, Mr. Sujit. I could see many of the questions coming. We would like to answer if this panelists have if the participants have their email ID. Whatever questions they have raised, we can answer them even back to them on their email ID. And so that there are many questions, I think few of them we could not answer. So we would like to answer it. They can send their questions to me. Yeah.
And we would also want to say that the recording will be available to everyone. So those who actually joined us a little late, the entire recording of the session will be available. So we'll put it maybe by the end of the week, we'll put it on YouTube so that everyone can access.
So we can access and we'll give you answers to each and every question. And dear participants, your relation to us begins only. We have different 25 days is not the end. We would like to keep liaison with you and we'd like to be keep you in loop, and we will remain in touch. Thank you for your kind interest and participation. We look forward your active participation in the future classes. Thank you very much.